All right, hello everybody, Mr. Herman here, take 3. We're gonna hopefully get it this time. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do an animal research project and presentation that's similar to how I want you guys to do it. But I understand that you guys might not be able to get down in a pig pen and talk about some animals, but if you have the opportunity to do this live with someone with animals, with your own animals, I would highly recommend it. It's way more entertaining than you just having a Google slide and Googling some boring facts. So I've got 8 points I want to go over. I'm not going to have a video in this one because I'm making the video. All right, so first of all, general information about these pigs. These are a Yorkshire breed. They are the most common breed of commercial pig in the United States. They are very inquisitive animals, as you can tell. They're not really hurting me, but they're kind of just nibbling. They're a little attracted and trying to see what's going on here. So these animals right now are about 3.5 to 4 months old. If I had to guess on a weight, this is definitely one of the bigger ones. He is actually crossed with a Hampshire. That's right, he's got these blue dots here. He's about 125 to 150 pounds, I would say. I am no pig expert by any means, but I'm telling you right now, we've had to move these guys around over the last couple of years, and there's no possible way I could pick this pig up at all. But like this one, he's probably on the smaller side, probably around 100 pounds. So we bought these pigs 2 months old. They were about 45 to 50 pounds, and they've gained that much weight in the last 2 months. They put on roughly 2 pounds of meat a day, well, meat and fat. They consume 6 to 8 pounds of feed a day. So it's out of pretty much any animal you're going to raise for meat, it's about the best conversion of feed to meat ratio, or feed to weight gain ratio. These guys will finish, they'll be about 6 to 7 months old when we send them to the butcher in December. And they will weigh roughly between 275 to 300 pounds is really what we're shooting for. Once they get much more than 275 to 300, they end up starting to put more fat on than they do meat. And then that's just not a little bit less desirable. All right, so number 2, I kind of already mentioned this a little bit, but the purpose of these guys is strictly for meat. We're not doing anything with these guys other than feeding them, giving them a roof over their head, water, a decent place to live for 6 months, and then we're gonna eat them. Not all of them. We eat like one, and then we divvy the rest up with some friends. So other uses though for pigs is people will put them out on pasture. The only reason they're trying to do that is they're still trying to get meat from the pigs, but it's kind of a different idea that you could raise them out on a pasture, especially with a heritage breed pig that maybe might not root as much. And then the idea is they're eating forage off the pasture rather than just on concrete eating grain. However, I will say we did that one time, and I promised to you and I promised to my wife we will never ever do that again. That was a bad experience. They got out like 3 times. So we actually poured this concrete pad, and this is actually getting into my 4th one, so I'll skip that. I'll come back in a minute. All right, so their diet, this is a stainless steel hog feeder. This is pretty nice because I can just throw a couple buckets in here every couple days. If I fill this all the way up, there's enough feed in there for roughly 4 to 5 days. Like I said, they will eat 6 to 8 pounds of feed a day. This is a corn and soybean meal. Actually just looks like cornmeal if you guys have made like cornbread before. And so it's about an 18%, there's about an 18% protein in there. So that is consistently what they eat. Now, like I said, I'll just reiterate this as far as intake goes. They'll eat 6 to 8 pounds of feed a day. So over those 6 months, they'll eat roughly 1,000 pounds of feed each pig. So there's 6 pigs here, that's 6,000 pounds, that's 3 tons of feed. So that's a large amount of feed. So living conditions, this is actually a pretty clean pig pen, believe it or not. Now, I want you to understand something. Commercially, these pigs, they're going to be in a large, long house with about 5,000 pigs in a barn. And they're going to have slats in the floor. So what's going to happen is when they poop and pee, all of that feces and urine goes right through the slats. So it's actually pretty darn clean, and then they pump it out. Now, we don't have that kind of facility. We just actually poured this pad last year, and this works out really, really well. Now, commercially, believe it or not, each pig only gets about 8 square feet per pig while it's growing. So it's a 2x4 area. So if you kind of look down here, that's an area about that big, right, per pig. So really, if this were a commercial setting and we had like another feeder, another water in here and a slatted floor, you could actually fit roughly 32 hogs in this same area. So now, if you look over here, kind of fun fact, interesting thing about pigs, they typically poop and pee in one spot, and it tends to be the lower area of the pen. So even though that might look a little dirty over there, and I left it like this so that you guys could see, I cleaned this pen out 2 days ago, but it was about 4 minutes of scraping up some of that manure and then hosing that out. I can have this clean, like I said, 4 or 5 minutes. It's really not a big deal at all. Pigs are pretty easy to raise. They don't sweat. This is kind of one of my fun facts at the end, but I'll tell you now. So they don't sweat, so therefore they have to stay cool. That is why, even though it might be disgusting to us, if it was really hot, they would go lay in their own pee. They don't like to, but they want to be cool. So that's why this concrete works out really well, because it's pretty cool. They can lay on it. We got these guys beginning of August. If I were to raise them over the summertime, and a lot of people do it, they actually put a sprinkler out here so it keeps them nice and cool so that they're happy. So like if you've read in kids' books or, you know, that pigs like to wallow in the mud, it's really because they're just trying to stay cool. Like if you pan out there, like that's kind of muddy out in that section where there's, I need to kind of clean that out, there's gravel base under that. Those pigs would be loving it out there, but they're really just doing that to stay cool. They're not doing it just to kind of wallow in the mud, it's to keep cool. So like right now they don't have to worry about it. All right, some health conditions that you really have to be wary of pigs is worms. All animals have some type of worm in their gut almost all the time, and then you have to deworm them in order to control that. Kind of the biggest thing that you might hear about with the pig, swine flu. H1N1 happened, I think it was like 2009. That actually started with pigs and then transferred into humans. Trichinosis is another one that people used to contract. It's a worm, a parasitic worm, I think it's a roundworm in their gut that basically humans could contract by eating undercooked meat. So if it wasn't cooked, I believe pork is 160 or 165 safe eating temperature. Basically, if you ate like a raw pork chop, you could get that. That's not really a thing anymore because now modern science, we deworm pigs and we want to cook it to the proper temperature, but that was the thing. Another one, swine flu, you might have heard of that, but I would like to say, kind of fit in here now, this is just a backyard fun project with 6 pigs. If you were ever wanting to tour a commercial pig facility, they probably would not even let you in the barn because of biosecurity. They don't want to introduce anything at all that you could have on you, on your shoes or whatever, to go into that facility. So out of pretty much all livestock, I guess these and chickens are probably the highest as far as biosecurity is concerned, and that you kind of have to be wary of. All right, so I'm gonna keep on moving here. Market and demand. For these guys, national average, I just looked it up before I came out here, for a wiener pig that's 40 pounds is about $30. It's like $29 and change. We bought these guys for 50 bucks a piglet, and I'm telling you this so that you understand, if you're thinking about raising an animal to try to make a little bit extra money on and a little bit of bacon for yourself, there's no other animal, well, I shouldn't say bacon, meat for yourself. There's no other animal better at that than a pig, and I'm gonna tell you why. So you can buy a pig right here, again, maybe a third of that size, 2 months old, 50 bucks or cheaper all day long. This animal is gonna eat roughly $150 worth of feed, all the water that you can drink. In 6 months, you could take this animal to any butcher shop in our area, as long as you make an appointment about 6 months out. Get that animal butchered for about 250 bucks, and you're gonna be sitting on easily $500 worth of meat, very, very, very easily. So it is a good project. You're not gonna make a killing at it, but it is a fun project that you don't really have a long-term investment in. If we decided in December I don't ever want to do pigs again, we could let other animals in here, and it'd be very, very simple. Would like to say some advantages, disadvantages. So I already kind of went over a couple. Very quick turnaround, so 6 months compared to a steer. They're usually 18 months old. So if you absolutely hate pigs, in 6 months you can wash your hands of it and be done with it. Another really good advantage is the pretty low maintenance. I fill up that water twice a week, feed her twice a week, clean up the manure and hose out the pee twice a week, and that's it. I don't have to do any training, I don't have to brush them. We have horses. Horses are extremely high maintenance. These guys are really, really easy. And then third advantage is, I've already said this, very diverse animal as far as meat goes. These are tasty animals no matter what. So every part of that pig you can eat, and it is absolutely tasty. Now, 3 disadvantages I would like to go over. Obviously, while I'm down in here, I'm gonna have to wash all my clothes right after this. Pigs have a certain smell to them that you cannot get out unless you put them in the wash. I will never wear these boots in the house or in the school building or any building. Obviously, the manure. If you don't like to handle manure or clean up urine, you're not gonna wanna raise pigs. This is the most pigs we've done at one time, and you're definitely gonna end up with a good bit of feces that you have to get rid of. Another big problem that we learned, they root terribly bad. Pigs are made to root. Second fun fact that's supposed to go at the end, their nose, if you can kind of see here, without him getting up, it's actually hooked up at the end. So right here, it's hooked up at the end, and it's really, really, really tough. It is a natural shovel. That hog, if I let him out in that pasture right now, would stick his head down and just uproot about that much dirt. So that is a disadvantage if you're not raising them on concrete. And then last but not least, another disadvantage would be these guys, you are hard to move. If you are impatient, you're in a hurry, and you get frustrated easily, like I do most of the time, you're gonna get a little upset when you have to load these guys. Luckily, we have a good setup now where we can back the trailer right up here. We can open this gate, open my trailer gate. Mr. Ricketts, that's Mr. Ricketts, he's the pig whisperer. Usually with a couple pieces of plywood, we can kind of gently push them over the trailer. But it's not like you can just put a halter on these guys and push them along. There's nothing really to grab onto. You don't have a horn. You can't push them with a cattle prod. You can't get a horse in here. Horses are, trust me, my horse doesn't like these guys at all. So they can be a little hard to handle, all right? So number 7, example of where they are raised. Guys, there are plenty of hog farms in Pennsylvania. I meant to look up, but I'll get back to you about the percentage or the number of hogs in Pennsylvania, but it's pretty high. The biggest probably place in our country where they're gonna raise hogs is obviously in the Midwest. The best way you can make money with pigs, the guy we actually bought pigs from said, if you can raise their feed, you can make money with pigs. If you can't, if you have to buy their feed, it's hard to make money. So where you see a lot of grain farmers, corn farmers in the Midwest, where they're raising their own beans, they're raising their own corn, they can feed their own hogs and then sell the beans and corn as well. That's where you're gonna see a lot of hog farms. So the last thing I would like to cover here that I kind of already said, fun facts, I already went over, they have a natural kind of shovel on the end of their nose. They can't sweat, so that we have to worry about keeping them cool. The last really fun thing though I think about pigs is they eat everything that you put in here. So table scraps, your watermelon rinds, anything that ends up in here, whether you want it or not, they will try to eat it. You do have to worry, I've done a lot of research, if you give them table scraps, you should make sure that the meat is cooked. There's a lot of people out there that just say don't give them the meat at all. But they said if you're gonna give them like meat, table scraps, or bones, to make sure it's cooked so you don't contract any diseases. But like, that's actually how we got started raising pigs in my old school. We collected all the food waste from the cafeteria. We actually did this last year at Avongrove. And about every day I'd come home with a bucket of table scraps from the cafeteria, primarily chicken patties, old pretzels, hot dogs, all kinds of stuff, and these guys would just gobble it up. So that's kind of a neat thing as well. So you can really offset some of your feed costs with just stuff that you would normally throw out. All right, so again, I know that we're not going to, everybody's not gonna be able to get in a pig pen and do a project maybe live with an animal, but I would really encourage you to. This is my animal research project. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.